Harriet Tubman was born in Maryland and in slavery time. And her parents was Harriet Bess Ross, and her father was Benjamin Ross. And they had about 10 children, and they lived on 2 different plantations. Well, Harriet played around like a child would until she reached the age of 5 years old. When she got 5 years old, her boss, the slave master, decided to hire her out to the other people in the neighborhood, or anybody wanted to hire her for $60 a year to do domestic work. Now, what could a 5-year-old child do? Can you think of yourself 5 years old doing domestic work, or your child? So I mean, she's too short to even reach the top of the bed to make the bed. I don't know what she could do, but she used to cry herself to sleep every night because that's all she could do, and go ahead and do the work that she was sent there to do. When she reached 12 years old, she went to a store called Bucktown Village. And she went into the store, and as she was going into the store, this slave owner saw one of his slaves trying to escape. So he took a 2-pound metal weight and he threw it to try to stop the guy from escaping. But it missed him, and it hit Harriet Tubman upside the head. And she passed out, and people thought she was going to die. Can you imagine? A bullet is so small, and it could hit you and kill you. But it's traveling with a lot of speed. But this was a 2-pound metal weight, and he threw him with his man strength. It just hit her and it knocked her out. And people thought she died, but she didn't. She became epileptic. She had seizures. She had blackouts, and she had dizzy spells and everything. So people say, "Oh, she ain't gonna be no good for the slave market. You put her up there for sale. Nobody want to buy with all these trouble. They want people that could work, not got people that just to hang around. They buying you to work." So she didn't have no value as going on the slave market. So we go up there. Who would want to buy? Who would want to buy Miss Tucker? She faints all the time. She can't do no work. So she had a lot of free time on her hand because nobody really wanted her. So, but when she got 13 years old, she heard the news that they were going to sell her into the deep south. And, oh my God, they're going to sell me? Oh no. She started running. She running. She didn't even look back. She knew the Underground Railroad was about 100 miles away to the Pennsylvania border. So she headed in that direction. God knows, I don't know how she made it, but she did. The dogs was after her, the people was after her. She don't know who was after her because she didn't turn around to look back. She just kept running. Can you imagine a young girl by herself, no clothes, no shoes, no coat, no food, no nothing, mosquitoes, snakes, rats, trees, all kind of things. But she kept on going. She kept on going. She was determined to make it. She said, live free or die. And that's what she'd rather do. And she kept going. And when she got to the Pennsylvania border, she was free. She was free. She was so happy to get out there and be free. But then after she was free, she thought about it. Oh, no. I know it's freedom for me, but what about all my sisters and brothers? What about all my friends and family? What about all the people that's suffering so much? I got to go back and get them. I got to go back and get them. I don't care how dangerous it is. I got to go back and get them. They deserve to be free. Let my people go. Yes, she said, I'd rather live free or die. Let my people go. She decided to go back. She went back 13 times, and she rescued 70 different slaves and never got caught. But they were looking. They weren't looking for her. They were looking for her, I tell you. They had like several free states. That was Ohio, New Jersey, Maryland. There were several free states that the slaves could go to, and they felt they could sort of live a free life. But then the slave owners started looking. They started bringing their dogs. They started chasing and looking. They go into these places, and if they caught you, they would harass you and the person that helped you. And so people started saying, well, we got to look for another way to do this. So Harriet started taking the people to Canada. And when they went to Canada, they weren't bothering them. Oh, the Delaware River, they had to cross this river. Man, that night, Harriet would go there, and she would hold her arms in the air. The water was up to her neck, and she had these guns. She had these guns in her hand, in her counter. And she had to determine, it doesn't matter. The next step is going to fall and sink down the river. There's all kind of animals, or glass, or all kind of stuff. She didn't care. She was just determined. When she had a determination to do something, she did it. And the slaves was over on one side of the river waiting for her because she knew the routes. She knew the routes. And she went over there and got them, and then the other people jumped in the river with her, and they followed her. They was on the river because the dogs couldn't smell your scent from the river. And they let the North Star lead them. And they were going along. And when they rescued the people to the north, she got them jobs, apartments, food, clothing. She had them set up, and she knew what the Underground Railroad was formed by black and white abolitionists. And she met a lot of people going back and forth rich people that wanted to help her. Like John Brown was one, but he got killed in the raid of Harley Ferry in Virginia. And Frederick Douglass, Susan B. Anthony, she was a suffragette for women's rights to vote. She was inspirational in that. And Susan B. Anthony was one of the women that they took and put on the dollar bill, the silver dollar bill. But the silver dollar was so close to the quarter, they had to discontinue it because people were confusing the thing. And then Harriet Tubman, they were going to put her on the $20 bill, replacing Jackson. And so, a big uproar was about that. Don't put her on, take Jackson and put her on the $20 bill. So now it's in holding, it's in court, So now they decide, well, we could put her on the quarter, but put Harriet Tubman on the quarter, would have come down. But who knows what the final decision will be. What made her successful, because she knew the route, and she knew where all the safe houses were. They wouldn't have made it without her. She knew her way around, and people trusted her, and they got to know her. A lot of rich abolitionists. I just want to say, when she was out there in that water, crossing that river, Lord have mercy, at night, by herself, looking to get all these people to get in the water. When she met up with them, she was holding her hand up and she said, Lord, help me to cross. Help me to cross, Lord. Help me to get across this river, because I don't know if I'm going to make it. The next stop, I could sink down, an alligator, a snake, or anything. I could cut my feet on. God helped her. He watched out for her, and he got her across, and he got those people. Let my people go, Lord, Lord, let my people go. The Civil War broke out. It was like a new way of helping the slaves. I mean, she became a nurse in the war for the Union, and she used to make her own remedies and everything, and for medicine. And she was serving to the black slaves and the white soldiers and everything to make them well. She didn't discriminate about that. And she was a spy, and she used to go to town. It was in a whole Confederate city. The Confederate people, the South, they run the city, but they had the slaves doing all the work in different stations and stores and what have you. And, so they were afraid to try to escape for themselves, but they were not afraid to talk to Harriet Tubman. She, just as an old woman, she crept into the town, and, she pretended like she don't know what time it is, and she would ask them, do you know where the storage room is where they keep all the food? Do you know what time they're going to have their next meeting? Do you know what their next plans are? Do you? Tell me. So all the slaves out there was running all these stores. They would run up, they would seek her out, they would find her, and they would tell her all the information about what the Confederate was doing. And so that helped the Union officers. This was great information for them. They knew all their secrets. And they didn't know how they knew them, but they knew them. And they helped them. Then she was a guerrilla fighter. She joined in Beaufort, South Carolina. She led a lot of soldiers, and they blew up a bridge down there in Beaufort, South Carolina. And again was a stumbling block for the soldiers. And the slave owners were so mad. They were so mad because although she had 13 different trips to free the slaves, and she took 70 out, not one was caught. So they said, this woman is too dangerous. They're costing us too much money. And they put a $40,000 bounty on her head. They said, kill her, or whatever we're going to do. We got to punish her. We got to get rid of her. When Harriet Tubman was escaping with all these people, you got to be very careful of how you're making plans, because some people are dedicated to their bosses. I don't care how bad they treat them. So you have to be very careful and choose who you pick to go with you on these secret outings. So they had to make secrets. They took quilts, and they embroidered quilts, secret information and codes, or how we going to get together, escape, and where we going to meet up with. I just wanted to say that. And but Harriet Tubman, by her meeting a whole lot of people, a whole lot of rich people, every time she make a trip, she meet more people. And there was a lot of abolition, like the people up in the Amish people up there, in the Quakers. They were great abolitionists. They had these secret houses. They had these houses where you could, when the slaves came, they could go to these houses, and then they stayed for a day or two, and then they had to move on, because the owners were looking for them, and if they caught them, they were going to be in a lot of trouble. Now that was a Home Depot. That was a depot, like a train station that they could go to, and once you went in there, they had passed some kind of legislation where, if we find a slave anywhere, they're going to be persecuted. But so the railroad station, they had it so that when you come in there, if the slave come in there looking for protection, They had it so your whole life was erased. It's that if you disappeared underground, you was nowhere to be heard of again. You just disappeared. So they had all kind of people helping the slaves, and if it wasn't for the slaves, and it wasn't for these people, these rich people helping them, I don't know what people would do. I mean, it's really terrible. And Harriet Tubman wanted to buy this house, 7 acres of land. She had apartment buildings built for old people, white and black alike, and so they could live the rest of their life out in peace, by the word. I mean, she took care of her parents. They were in there too. She was in the military. She was the first black woman to ever serve in the military. And they used to call her the Black Moses because she was like Moses in the Bible. When you let your people go to save your people, she said, I'd rather live free or die. Let my people go. Let my people go. And she believed that. She was married to 2 men. First of all, she took her mother's name, which was Harriet, and then she married a man named Tubman, so she took his name too. But then she married Nelson Davis, and he was a military man for the North. She married him, and then they adopted a little girl named Gertie, and she just died here in 2016. But he was married to him, and then she left him for freedom in Maryland, in Delaware, Pennsylvania. But she decided to go back and rescue her husband. When she got back there, he had dumped her and married another woman. Slaves didn't have legal marriage, but they had marriage unions where people got together. And he said, no, I got somebody else now. She said, okay, good for you. I ain't got time for that. Now, that's your life, but I have a life of my own, and I have so much work to do. I have to free people. I have to free. God gave me a special mission. I'm a special light to help so many people, and I have to get about my business. So now she was in the service, and when she retired from the service, they gave her $5 a month. Can you imagine? $5, all those years ago, $5. And then when her husband died, they increased it to $20. But still in all, she didn't care. She didn't care. She kept right on. She never took anything in a negative way. She had everything in a positive way because she thought positive. She thought she was a true hero. She was a light. She was a change in life. And anything that she wanted to do, she did it. And she never let nobody stop her from what she wanted to do. She lived 1,000 lives into one lifetime with her. They just look at her and just marvel. They praise her, almost just worship this lady because they wish that they could be like her, and they wish they had her strength and hope. But she lived a good life, a wholesome life. And on the grave it said, a life well served, a life well lived, well done. Amen, amen, and amen. And I just want to go back to the part where when she was 12 years old and she went to the store and the slave owner hit her by accident with this 2-pound metal weight upside her head. Well, although she didn't die, she had a spiritual awakening. And she think that everything that guided her was like a spirit telling her or guarding her from God, for like a special angel, a guardian angel. She was like spiritually inspired. There was nothing she couldn't do to free her people. She was on the road to enlighten people, to save people, to wake people up, to give people a new chance of hope in life. And that's what she did. 2 national parks that was named after her. That was Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Historical Park in Creek, Maryland. And the other one was Harriet Tubman's National Historical Park in Auburn, New York. That's where she finally died at. She had an apartment building there and she finally died at. And she was buried there in Auburn, New York also. And I just want you to know that she was such a dedicated person. The white slave owner called her the Black She-Moses. Let my people go. She was determined. She determined. She didn't care what they thought or what she had to do, how much danger she faced. She was out there, and people admired her. She did things that they didn't do. They didn't think they could do, but she did it. She was afraid of them. Now she's fearless, and people wish they could be like her. Let my people go. Let my people go. She died at 91 years old, and she was buried with full honors. And you could go to her shrine and see and visit that now.